Thank you for tuning in to Community TV One. I am your community host, Martin Byrd. We have an exciting weekend for you here in Southwest Florida. If you don't already know, the 100 Black Men of Southwest Florida are hosting their first annual Old School versus New School basketball tournament tonight at Dunbar High School. Be sure to go out. There's going to be some great players there. Mr. Walt Wesley, some of the kids from Dunbar High School. It should be an excellent event. The game starts at 6 p.m. Tickets are $7. Make sure you go out and join the 100 Black Men this evening. On tomorrow is a bit more festive event as the Fort Myers alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta is hosting their annual Miss Jabber Walk. It's 4 ladies compete to be this year's Miss Jabber Walk. Go out, support them. Tickets are $20 at the Harborside Convention Center downtown. On behalf of Community TV, we would also like to give congratulations to the area basketball teams that celebrated Final Four finishes. In the Lehigh Senior High basketball boys, Dunbar High School Lady Tigers, and the Fort Myers Green Wave Lady basketball team. Congratulations. Keep up the good work. This has been your Community TV One Community Calendar News Break. Thank you for tuning in.
You ever wanted to know what's going on in and around your community? CommunityTV1.com is your answer. Go ahead, log on to www.communitytv1.com and get your info on.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early-stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, 2 conference rooms, a large training room, copier and fax. Many new businesses now operating successfully have had their start at the Southwest Florida Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea, call 239-321-7085 and come join us.
Hello, this is Victoria, your community tax lady. I'm here to tell you about a few of our services that we offer at Tax Care. First, I would like to tell you about our accounting services. Many of you may need an accountant for your business in order to help you with your mergers, in order to help you with your joint ventures, or acquiring a business or purchasing a business that someone already has up and running. If you have any questions about any of these things, or if you need any adjustments made to your books, you can give us a call or come into the office and sit down, and we will be willing and able to answer all of your accounting needs. Thank you.
Hello, I am Attorney Joe North, and I want to once again congratulate the Delta Sigma Theta sorority on all of the great work that it is doing in the communities across this nation. You know, I have been handling personal injury cases for 25 years, and people ask me questions each and every day about personal injury cases. These are some of their questions.
If someone is in a car accident, how does he or she know that they have a case?
You may have a case if the other car was at fault and you were injured because of their fault. But even if you are partially at fault, if the other car is also partially at fault, then you may still have a case. But the best thing to do, just give me a call. Let's talk about it.
What types of compensation may be available in a personal injury case?
In a personal injury case, whether we're talking about a slip and fall case or a car accident case, you may be entitled to payments for lost wages, medical bills, and pain and suffering. And we can get that either by settlement or taking your case to trial.
Where's your office located?
My main office is located in Fort Myers, a city in which I am proud to say I was born and raised. I also have an office in Fort Lauderdale, but my motto is, briefcase will travel. I handle cases throughout the entire state. I go wherever I am needed.
One more question. How much do you charge to handle a personal injury case?
More good news. My clients do not pay me any attorney's fees or costs unless we win. So give me a call. Call Attorney Joe North.
One of the great things about hosting this show is I get to meet great men. I get to reach out to awesome people doing great work in the community. The person we have on this show is someone I actually got to meet about 4 years ago as I was embarking on a college journey. I was introduced to Isaac Brundage. At that time, he was the director of community outreach at Florida Gulf Coast University. As I began to get to know him, I seen the influence that he had on the campus and within our community. And I'm proud to have here today to speak with the current Vice President of Student Affairs and Enrollment, Isaac Brundage III. How are you doing this afternoon, Mr. Brundage?
I am doing fine. How are you doing, Martin Byrd?
I'm very happy to be speaking with you today. How's the weather down there on the western part of the United States?
Well, you know what? The weather's pretty nice today. I think the high is supposed to be maybe in the low 50s probably, so it's a nice day for us here. In Florida, they probably call that a cold winter.
Yeah, we had a breeze this morning. I ain't like it too much, but I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I'm definitely enjoying it.
So you went out there around 2011. How was that adjustment from you being a Florida boy? Spent most of your education here down in Florida, growing up here. How was that adjustment moving out to New Mexico?
It was a interesting transition. I came out, like you said, in November 2011. Moved out to Silver City, New Mexico, in the southwest part of the country, southwest New Mexico. So it was. I think the biggest adjustment was probably the weather, the different climate. So. But I'm used to it now. So, and actually, I like the fact that there's a very low, if not no, humidity out here. You know, where in the summers in Florida, you all sweat to death, and here we don't have that problem.
All right, so you went over to better climates. So you were born and raised here in Fort Myers?
Yes, I was born and raised in Fort Myers, specifically the Dunbar community.
Exactly what area in Dunbar, and how was that growing up in the 80s?
Oh, wow. I wish I could say that. I was born in the 70s. So I was born, believe it or not, there used to be a midwife house. I think the street is behind where Mount Olive is.
Okay.
And I was born in a house there and grew up in the housing projects in Fort Myers, what we call the old projects that they actually eventually tore down and built some houses there. I think the original name was like Southwood Village or something like that. But that's where I grew up, right there on Willing Street in Dunbar, right across from Franklin Park. Didn't go to school to Franklin Park, but that's where I grew up.
It's awesome to see. Fort Myers is a real small city, volunteering at the Lee County Black History Society and seeing some of the old things that kind of still exist in Fort Myers. And you said you were born in a house with a midwife. That's an interesting development.
Exactly. All of my mom's kids were born with the midwife. None of us were born in the hospital.
What? You said your mom's kids. How many did your mom actually have?
There was 4 of us. I was the only boy with 3 sisters and a mother. Grew up in a single-parent household.
That had to be an interesting occasion. I know how it feels to grow up with a bunch of sisters.
No, it was fine. I think I had enough male influences and uncles and cousins and neighbors and people in the community. So
that's great. So you say you had a lot of different male influences. As I was reviewing your resume, I seen that you spent 2 years at Howard University. I was like, wow. And you think about Howard University in the minds of many African Americans. It's like the mecca of education. What in your childhood was going through little Isaac's mind that said, one day I'm going to make it to Howard University?
You know, actually, when I was much younger, say elementary, middle school, Howard wasn't a thought for me. Actually, I had no clue about historically black colleges until I went to high school. And actually, Maria Cord, Bernice Battle, and who else was the other one? And Mildred Perkins. They were all black female teachers at North Fort Myers High School when I was in high school. And it's the funny thing about it, I used to think they were probably the most nosiest women I had ever met in my life. But what I learned was that they actually cared about me. Mm-hmm. They kept up with my grades. They kept up with what was going on in school with me, that I was involved in things, leadership opportunities, and everything. And they made sure I was exposed to a lot of things that I had no idea about. You know, ironically, all three of them are members of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, so, you know, big shout out to those ladies. But they kept me on track, and they introduced a lot of us to historically black colleges. And then, you know, when I did some research and learned about Howard University, like you said, it is considered the mecca of black education. You know, they call it the Black Harvard.
Yes, yeah.
So I figured if I'm going to go to the best. And that's how I ended up at Howard University. But I spent 2 years there, and family reasons I needed to come closer to home, so I actually transferred to Florida A&M University and finished there and graduated from Florida A&M University. And that was just as good, if not a better experience than Howard University. So I consider myself an alum of both of them.
Growing up in the Fort Myers area, active FAMU chapter, I know that's definitely not a bad thing to say you graduated from FAMU. So,
definitely not.
It has a great history.
I am a rattler. Like we said, FAMU, we bleed orange and green.
All right. So you went to FAMU, and you actually became a biology education major. Was the people in your prior life, did that lead you in the education field, biology?
Oh, wow. You know, when I went to Howard, when I first started college, I had the idea that I wanted to be an obstetrician gynecologist or a neurosurgeon.
Oh, wow.
I met a local doctor in Fort Myers, Dr. John Dussault. I don't know if he's still there, but he was a neurosurgeon. And so I actually was like, okay, I want to go to med school. I was really good in math and science throughout school, but when I got in school and I took my first anatomy and physiology class, man, was that an eye-opener. Now, did well in the class, yes, but I figured I hated anatomy and physiology. So I'm like, if I'm going to go to med school, I'm going to have to like it. So I kind of played around with some other areas before I ended up with biology education. I did biology research. And then I started tutoring, which started my interest in education, and then from there, just kind of, you know, I have a degree in biology and minored in education, so I would be certified to teach when I graduated.
I know there's plenty of young men, young women that are glad that you were led on that path, considering where you are now. And
yeah, probably.
I can vouch for him, Mr. Brundage. I can vouch for him.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. And you're at FAMU. You had to come back for family issues. Why did you come back to Fort Myers?
Oh, man. You know, like a lot of us who leave Fort Myers, we say we're never coming back. We all, you know, and you have a lot of people that don't come back.
Yes.
But I'm a family person. Those people who know me, I'm very close to my family. My mother, at the time when it was time for me to graduate, was very sick with lupus. And what made me come closer to home and leave Howard, my oldest sister was killed in a car accident, and my mother was raising her 4 kids. So with my mother being sick and her raising the 4 kids, it was better for me to, when still in college, to come closer to home. And so when I graduated, it was ideal for me to come back to Fort Myers so I can be there to serve as a support for my family.
That's understandable. And it's interesting, you say you grew up in Southwest Village. I actually grew up out there. So it's interesting seeing the different parallels we've been on. And you ended up at Franklin Park, actually around the time I was actually there. How did you ended up at Franklin Park? You didn't go there elementary, but you ended up as an instructor and a coach as Franklin Park.
Yeah, I was the science resource specialist at Franklin Park. I used to I was in charge of the science curriculum. We had a science grant, and then if you look over at Franklin Park, you see that big round thing, that biodome there. Yeah. So I did a lot of the science curriculum at Franklin Park. How I ended up there, actually, when I was recruited to come to Fort Myers, when I started working at Fort Myers Middle, Tony Sindler was the principal at Franklin Park. Mm-hmm. She actually was the person who interviewed me when I graduated from Florida A&M University. When I graduated from FAMU, she was there at a recruitment fair. And so when I talked to her, you know, she was like, "Oh, you have to come back to Fort Myers, come back to Fort Myers." And so she hooked me up with Franklin Park, with Fort Myers Middle. And then while I was working at Fort Myers Middle, she had a position open for a science resource specialist. So I called her. And she was like, "You're interested in coming here?" I was like, "I would love to come there and work with you." So that's how that whole relationship came, and I started working at Franklin Park and stayed there for, I think, 3 years before I ended up going to Riverdale High School, because Riverdale started a middle school program, and the superintendent at the time, Bruce Harder, came and talked to me about going to help start the science program at the middle school program at Riverdale High School.
Yeah, we can see some of the stuff that you're part of, with just the big round globe as you walk into school. It's a large part of their STEM program.
Exactly.
So that's great. That's great, Ms. Brundage.
We used to raise tilapia and do hydroponic gardening in that biodome.
Wow, you guys were definitely ahead of your time. I see the high schools are doing it now, but you're definitely ahead of your times in the 90s.
Oh yeah, we were way ahead of our times there. Yeah, we were way ahead of our time there. I think, Franklin Park, when they developed that magnet school, it was that was a really great asset to the local community, especially the Dunbar community, because those kids got to experience a lot of things that they probably would have never experienced, especially when they got to, a lot of them went to the Florida Keys and got to snorkel in the different aquatic systems in the water. And so it was a great experience for not only me, but for the students who were there also.
Wow. Yeah, some awesome things to hear. You moved to Riverdale High School, putting your impact on there, and you got done with the middle school level. You went on and found your way to the great Florida Gulf Coast University. How did you end up there?
Oh, wow. How did I get at Florida Gulf Coast University? When I was working at Fort Myers Middle, Franklin Park, in Riverdale, I became very involved in the community, especially the Dunbar community. Yes. And I met Joe Shepard, who is actually the president here at Western New Mexico University, and I met a guy who is the vice president of student affairs at California State University, Channel Island. His name is Dr. Greg Sawyer. And I was working with them on different things in the community, and actually, we actually chartered the first 100 black men of Southwest Florida.
Wow.
And so from there, we were doing a lot of stuff in the community, and they knew my work, and there was an opportunity to come to Florida Gulf Coast University to run the college reach-out program there. And so, they talked to me about applying for the job, and I applied for the job and interviewed and everything. And that was my first position at Florida Gulf Coast University. Was I ran the college reach-out program. And then I did that for several years, and just a lot of opportunities kind of just opened up from there.
So you came right out of college, head first. You pioneering at Franklin Park, pioneering at the middle school, at Riverdale High School, crop coordinator here at Florida Gulf Coast University, my university. And that gave you an opportunity. Wings up, as we say at Florida Gulf Coast University. That gave you an opportunity to not only work at Florida Gulf Coast University, but give back to the community through the college outreach program.
Definitely.
And why was that so dear to you?
When I left the school district, I left the school district at a time when they were first starting FCAT, and they were first starting the standardized testing and the grading of the schools and all that stuff. And I was becoming frustrated. I think I was probably a rebel when it comes to teaching, because I was definitely not one who was going to just teach to the test. And so I became frustrated, and I really wanted to help our students. And I really wanted to help the students who are not only just the minority students, but the students who are low socioeconomic, first generation, students from rural areas. So going to the College Reach Out program gave me an avenue to do that in a different way. I was actually able to do it from the college level, and I didn't have to worry about the rules of the school district. So I was playing a different game. I mean, and it gave me access to some resources and some opportunities that I could bring back to the community and get a lot of students on Florida Gulf Coast University campus and other campuses throughout the state. So it was actually a natural change for me to really want to give back to the community and do it in a different way, but expose some students to some things that they probably would have never had the opportunity to experience.
All right, that's great. We're sitting here with Isaac Brundage, the Vice President of Western New Mexico. We're going to go to a break. We're going to pay some bills and be right back.
You ever know what's going on in and around your community? CommunityTV1.com is your answer. Go ahead. Log on to www.communitytv1.com and get your info on.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early-stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, two conference rooms, a large training room.
I'd like to tell you about accounting services. Many of you may need an accountant for your business in order to help you with your mergers, in order to help you with joint ventures, or acquiring a business, or purchasing a business that someone already has up and running. If you have any questions about any of these things, or if you need any adjustments made to your books, you can give us a call or come into the office and sit down, and we will be willing and able to answer all of your accounting needs. Thank you.
Hello. I am Attorney Joe North, and I want to once again congratulate Delta Sigma Theta sorority on all the great work that it is doing in communities across this nation. You know, I have been handling personal cases for 25 years, and people ask me questions each and every day about personal injury cases. These are some of the questions.
If someone is in a car accident, how does she know that they have a case?
You may have a case if the other car is at fault and you were injured because of their fault. But even if you are partially at fault, if the other car is also partially at fault, then you may still have a case. But the best thing to do, just give me a call. Let's talk about it.
What type of compensation is available in a personal injury case?
In a personal injury case, whether we're talking about a slip and fall case or a car accident case, you may be entitled to payments for wages, medical bills, and pain and suffering. And we can get that either by settlement or taking your case to trial.
Where's your office located?
My main office is located in Fort Myers, a city in which I am proud to say I was born and raised. I also have an office in Lauderdale, but my motto is briefcase will travel. I handle cases throughout the entire state. I go wherever I am needed.
One more question. How much do you charge to handle a personal injury case?
More good news. My clients do not pay me any attorney fees or costs unless we win. So give me a call. Call Attorney Joe North.
Thank you once again for tuning in to Pillars of Success. I am your community host, Martin Byrd. We are sitting here with our calling guest today, Mr. Isaac Brundage. How are you doing today once again, sir?
I'm doing great. Great having this conversation with you.
All right, it's been a great conversation so far. We've looked at your history coming from Southwest Village old projects to Howard University, graduating FAMU Rattler. Now you're the crop coordinator at Florida Gulf Coast University. And you didn't, of course, you couldn't stay in that position. You pioneered a great program, the crop program in the Lee County School District. Now you move on to the housing and residence. That's kind of different. You've been a biology teacher, educator, crop program. Most of that stuff has been educational. Now you're looking at housing and residence life. How was that switch for you?
Well, you know what? It was an easy transition, and it is still, educational. It was just a different way of educating. That opportunity came about because another thing that I love to do is program. I was doing a lot of event coordinating in the community, and the two guys that I mentioned who attracted me to Florida Gulf Coast University, they knew that, and so there was an opportunity that came open in housing, and they asked me to fill that void for them. And so I went over in housing basically to do programming in the residence halls and do educational and social and different types of programs for the students. And that's when the housing program had first started at FGCU. One of the things that I benefited from at Florida Gulf Coast University, it was a new university, so there was always opportunities coming up. There were changes being made all the time. So when an opportunity came up, if you were in the right place in the right time and people knew your work ethics, you kind of were moved in place. So that's kind of what happened with me. I was moved into some different opportunities that have helped to prepare me for where I am today.
What do you think from your childhood allowed you to be the pioneer that you actually have been with in the different programs in the school district at Florida Gulf Coast University, being a young university, first being established in 1991, I think began getting classes in 97, around that time, prepared you being raised in a single parent home, to be that person who could walk through that door and create something out of nothing?
You mentioned the single parent household. I think that's what did it. I had a very strong mother. My mother was my role model. Grayson May Brundage Crawford taught us a whole lot of things, and I used to always say that I want to be successful. And so she used to always tell me that success is measured by your willingness and ability to help others. Wow. And she was a person who always gave back. She always helped people. Even when we lived in the projects and when we moved out of the projects, it was not uncommon for somebody to live with us. It was not uncommon for my mom, when it was time for school, she would buy school clothes for other people's kids along with ours. It was not uncommon for her to take food out of our freezer or stuff out of our cabinets or cupboards, and we would take it to give to the neighbors. I mean, and the way she would do it, she would go out the back door because she didn't want people to see her giving to other people, because she always said that you don't do it for attention, or you don't do it to be glorified by man. She said, you give and you give willingly, and then you will get your reward later. And that's how we were raised. And so it was natural that that's what I was supposed to do as a young professional, to jump right out there and do some of the same things my mom did, but because of my education, I was able to do it in a different way.
I think we're going to have to steal that saying from your mom about success. This show being called Pillar of Success, that's an excellent definition. That no matter,
definitely. 'Cause
yeah.
You have people who measure success by what they have, mm-hmm. or they measure success by comparing themselves to what others have. And really, a successful person has the ability and willingness to help others. And so as long as you're doing to me, that's how I measure success.
That's an awesome concept. It just shows no matter how low we think we are, no matter how high we think we are, we all have the ability to be successful because we all have the ability to give something in some manner. Somehow.
Exactly.
So you're at FGCU, you're running through doors, creating opportunities. You get a burning urge, you've established a program or help establish a program of housing. Somehow we got the boys in Tallahassee calling you, and they're trying to steal you away from us. Let the viewers kind of know what happened, how you ended up back at FAMU in their housing department.
How I ended up at FAMU, I had this dream. Once I started working in housing at FGCU, I used to always say, dang, this would be a good dream job. I would love to go to Florida A&M University, go back to my alma mater, and really make a contribution to their housing program as director of housing. Wow. And just ironically, the opportunity came open, and I applied for the job and ended up going to FAMU and worked there for 2 years as director of housing, and had a great time, loved every bit of it. It was probably one of the best leadership learning experiences I've ever had as a professional. But I got a call to come back home to Fort Myers, and so it took some soul searching and some prayers and a lot of other things to make that decision to leave FAMU and come back to Florida Gulf Coast University in Fort Myers. But I don't regret the decision, though. And
you came back to be the director of community outreach.
Exactly.
Great. So
and that was that position was a new position. One of the things that I was told was, because when I was at Florida and Florida Gulf Coast advantage of, and so when I left the university, they told me that there was a void in that area, and so they created community outreach. And so I came back and started doing what I loved, what I was doing anyway. So it never seemed like a job. It just always seemed like I was just doing what I loved to do, having fun doing, and people were benefiting from it. And the university was growing, especially the minority population, the what we call the underserved or underrepresented population. The numbers started increasing during that time. I mean, we were providing opportunity, so I loved it.
I'm definitely glad you came back and accepted that position. I was able to meet you through your position as Director of Community Outreach, as well as your lovely wife, who ended up being my admissions officer. So I appreciate you coming back from FAMU and being such the great gift that you are to the city and the area in Florida Gulf Coast University.
I appreciate that.
I got a question for you. What does Kappa Alpha Psi mean to you?
Why did I know this question was going to come up? Basically, that's achievement. Achievement in every field of human endeavor. Everybody knows, if you know me, you know that I'm a Kappa, and I think I was born to be a Kappa. I went to college with the intention of being a Kappa. I met some great men in the community when I was in middle and high school, and ironically, they were all Kappas. And so when I went to college, my intention was to join Kappa Alpha Psi in college, but the chapter at Howard University was not on campus at the time. And then when I transferred to FAMU, they weren't on campus, but they came back my senior year, so I really didn't have time to do it. So I came back to Fort Myers. I immediately reached out to the local alumni chapter and just basically said I was ready. What do I need to do? And so right out of college, I joined the Fort Myers alumni chapter and have been working for Kappa since.
And if anybody knows about anything about the Fort Myers alumni chapter, we know they are large and they are running things. It's a premier group of men. Mr. Fred Atkins, elder at Mount Hermon, Mr. Fred White, a lifelong educator, Mr. Carl Burnside, I believe, as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
if you name a lot of the men who are movers and shakers in Fort Myers, especially I was going to say Dunbar community, but really the whole Southwest Florida area, a lot of them are members of Kappa Alpha Psi. And I have to give a shout out to the other Greek organizations, fraternities out there too, because there's some great men out there too. But my heart is Kappa.
Of course. And growing up in the area, a lot of people in my family were Greek, so I didn't know much about Greek life. But I did know about a youth group called the Kappa League, and you were very instrumental in that group. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about the Kappa League and you being a big part of that at schools like James Stevens?
Yeah, actually, Kappa League is part of the Guide Right program of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, and basically it's where we work with middle and high school age, mainly boys, but it does branch out. There are some areas of Guide Right that branch out to the young ladies also. But we basically mentor. We work with them in different areas in the community. We expose them to different things that they probably may not get exposed to. We tell them about we teach them about college life. We teach them about that transition from being a boy to a young man, and it is a very good program. I started working that program when I got out of college, and I became a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. There a lot of the young men you may know in the community, like Brian Fuller,
Yes.
for example, was part of my Kappa League program, and it kind of died off for a little bit, but then it was brought back up. You mentioned James Stevens Academy. James Stevens is actually one of the past brothers of the Fort Myers alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi. The school is named after him. And so the principal at the time was Denise Luster. And Denise contacted me when I was at Florida Gulf Coast University, and she wanted me to start a Kappa League program at James Stevens, and mainly because her son, Carlton Byrd, was part of the past Kappa League program that we used to run. And so we started right there at the middle school, started working with the young men during school hours. A group of us from the Fort Myers alumni chapter would come and do some things with them. And now, under the direction of Brother Jesse Bryson, it has grown tremendously. They actually have a community development center right off of Palm Beach.
Yes.
They actually have a STEM program that they're doing as part of the Kappa League. They have some grants that they've acquired through the city. They're doing hydroponic gardening and some of the things that I mentioned that we were doing at Franklin Park. And they're taking the young guys on college trips, so they're actually doing a lot. They're doing ACT and ACT prep, some tutoring and different things like that. So they have taken that and really expanded it to a program that actually should get some national recognition.
That sounds like they got a lot going on. Yeah, as you led the way, and they've taken it to the next level.
Yes, they have.
Opening up their new development center on Palm Beach. And it's a lot of other great organizations we know. Give a shout out to the 100 Black Men. In their organization, they have a mentor group for young men, the Omega Psi Phi as well. So we don't leave anybody else out. And Phi Beta Sigma also may have a group in the area where they mentor. And we know the ladies as well do a lot of mentoring in the community.
Definitely.
The National Panhellenic Council in Fort Myers and Dunbar area is very involved in helping the youth of the area.
Right.
And
you know, one of the things that a lot of people who are not part of the Greek organizations, they may look and think that we are against, we don't. It's really, we all have a goal in mind, and that's really helping our communities. You know, if you can name any of the Greek organizations, any of the Divine Nine, we all work in our communities, and we work very hard in our communities. We may go about it in different ways, but that's the common goal.
And you may also be accused of, as we end this line of question on the Kappas, accused of starting something at James Stevens that led way to something at FGCU. As the Kappas founded their chapter.
The chapter at FGCU?
Yes, sir.
Actually, the chapter at FGCU came before the Kappa League program. Yeah, we started the chapter at FGCU when many years ago. Actually, we were the first NPHC group, that's the National Panhellenic Council group, on FGCU's campus. We were the first predominantly black fraternity of the Divine Nine on campus. We weren't the first chartered, though. The Deltas came on after we did, and they were able to get their charter before us, but we eventually got our charter after them, but we were the first ones on that campus. Actually, one of my jobs at FGC, one of many, was to start Greek life on campus, and that was one of the things that I did. I actually wrote the proposal, actually co-wrote with a student. Kevin Price was a student. He was a member of Sigma Phi Epsilon, the Sig Eps. Yeah. And we worked together, and we wrote the first proposal to start Greek life at FGCU, and kind of went from there. There were students on the committee. There was faculty staff on the committee, and we had a community member. Actually, Jerry Ware from Delta Sigma Theta was the community representative on that committee also that brought Greek life to FGCU.
And you mentioned Miss Ware. Everybody knows that name. We want to give her a happy birthday. Her birthday was on yesterday. She's a
Oh, you wait a minute. I missed Miss Ware's birthday. See, now you got me in trouble. I'm going to have to call her.
Yeah, we got a lot of people. So heads up. See Miss Ware, make sure you tell her happy birthday. She's been a great pioneer.
Yes, definitely happy birthday, Miss Ware. We used to always, the first Kappa League group that I was doing, part of the success of that group was because of Miss Ware. Miss Ware in the Deltas, they were running a program out of the Ida Baker Center, which is the building behind Dunbar High School, and she had a boys group. And so what we did, we combined our efforts. She came and met with me and asked me to combine our efforts with what they were doing, and man, we were able to do a lot in the community. People used to always tell us we were going to die trying to save Dunbar, and we were like, hey, we'll just have to go that way then.
Yeah. Thank you all. You've through the universities, through the different organizations, Kappa Alpha Psi, Dunbar Festival Committee, the different boards you've been a part of. You've been very active in the community. What continues to, even though you're in New Mexico, I know you still have a pulling for Dunbar because that's where you were born and raised. What continues to
definitely
drive Isaac Brundage in the next 10, 20 years to continue to influence the youth through the different community things you're doing through the university? I know you continue to offer up a hand as vice president at Western New Mexico from kids at this area and minority students. What continues to drive Mr. Isaac Brundage, and how does he see the next 10 years?
Well, you know, what drives me is that one day I realized that this is my ministry. Mm-hmm. You know, I see it more than just as a job for me. It is what I'm supposed to be doing. And if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I don't feel whole as a person. So I will continue to work to help people. Every job that I've worked in, I've used it as an opportunity, and I will continue to do that to help people. And the people, and I like being in positions and places where I can help people who really don't always get a chance. You know, if I may put a plug in for Western New Mexico University, we are an interesting place. We are a Hispanic serving institution. We are an open enrollment institution, meaning that a student can come here with a high school diploma or GED and get accepted into the university. We're a fully accredited state school in southwest New Mexico. You can get everything here from a GED. You can get a GED. You can get an associate's degree. You can take up a trade or get a certificate in plumbing and welding or one of those areas. We have a police academy. You can get a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and soon we will have a doctorate in education. Where else can you get that at a comprehensive university that offers everything from student life to student housing and Division II athletic programs? You know, so we give an opportunity to a student who may not get that opportunity other places. But once we get that student here, like a lot of our historically black colleges, we develop them, we take them from where they are, and we develop them to a level just as good, if not better, than any other school in the country. So that's where I have to be. Those are the types of places where I want to work. And you ask where will I be the next 10 years from now? Definitely a president at somebody's university somewhere in this country. So, you know, how soon that's going to happen, I'm not sure, but that is definitely the goal. And if anything you ever know about me, I'm a goal-oriented person. I kind of set my goals for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years out, and that's definitely where I plan to be in 10 years.
Well, I've definitely enjoyed talking to you today. I know Dr. Bradshaw is doing an excellent job at Florida Gulf Coast University. But once he's getting ready to sit down, I hope you are first on the candidate list, Mr. Brundage.
That's funny. You know, FGCU is a great place. It's changed a lot, though.
Yes.
You know, it's changed a lot. So, you know, maybe one day, you know, far down the line, that might happen. But right now, you know, I'm at Western New Mexico University, and I'm enjoying it. So I'll probably be here. I'll be here a little bit longer.
We do believe so. And you're currently working on your Doctors of Education.
Yes, I am. Slowly but surely, but it's happening.
And as we spend a lot of time talking about you working with the underserved minority students. Is that your focus of your doctorate?
Yes, it is. How would I guess it would be easy to guess that. My dissertation, I'm comparing factors that contribute to the retention of minority students at 3 different types of institution: Hispanic serving institution, historically black college and university, and a predominantly white institution. So I'm comparing what factors contribute to minority students being successful at those schools.
Wow, that was a lot.
I know, right?
Well, Mr. Brundage, I would like to thank you for coming on here today, Pillars of Success. It's been excellent talking to you again.
Definitely talking to you too. We hadn't talked in a while.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been trying to keep up, through social media to what a lot of you are doing, and I'm proud of you and what you're doing. I think this is a great opportunity for you. I know you're finishing up your degree at Florida Gulf Coast University. I remember when you first got there from Fort Myers High School, and It was evident that you were going to be successful. So I'm very pleased to see that you're giving back to the community in this way.
It's great men like you, Mr. Brundage, that allow us to continue to give back. And as you were pushed by your mother, showing that success is not what you're doing, but how you can give back. And
definitely.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank you for tuning in today, Pillars of Success. We have been excellent talking to Mr. Brundage as he continues with his great endeavors, not just here in Fort Myers, but in New Mexico. Like you think, stay tuned in for Pillars of Success. I am your community host, Martin Byrd. You have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
You ever know what's going on in and around your community? CommunityTV1.com is your answer. Go ahead. Log on to www.communitytv1.com and get your info on.
The city of Fort Myers has supported